The evening had started with such promise. Jack Brennan sat at a corner table in Bellamy's, one of the city's nicest restaurants, checking his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. 7:45. His blind date was now 45 minutes late. He'd been set up by his sister Rachel, who'd insisted that her friend from yoga class was perfect for him. She's kind, she's smart. She's been through some stuff, but she's amazing. "Jack, just give it a chance," Rachel had pleaded. At 36, Jack had given up on the idea of finding someone. His life was consumed by his work as the CEO of Brennan Technologies, the software company his father had founded, and Jack had grown into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Relationships had always taken a backseat to quarterly reports and product launches, but lately, the empty house he came home to each night had started to feel less like a refuge and more like a prison. So he'd agreed to the blind date. He'd put on his best white shirt, arrived 15 minutes early, ordered a drink, and waited, and waited. Now, as the minutes ticked past, Jack was beginning to feel foolish. She'd stood him up. It happened. He should just pay for his drink and leave, salvage what remained of his Friday evening. He was about to signal for the check when he heard a small voice. "Excuse me, are you Jack?" He looked down to find a little girl standing beside his table. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with blonde hair pulled back in a small ponytail, wearing a pink dress that had a small stain on the hem. She was looking at him with serious blue eyes. Jack blinked in surprise. Yes, I'm Jack." The girl nodded solemnly. "My mommy's sorry she's late. She had to work. And then the babysitter didn't show up, and she tried to cancel. But you weren't answering your phone." She said all of this in one breath, as if she'd been practicing it. Jack felt his phone vibrate in his pocket and pulled it out, to see 3 missed calls and several text messages. He'd put it on silent when he'd arrived at the restaurant. "Oh," he said, looking at the messages. "All from an unknown number. I'm so sorry running late. Emergency at work. Sent at 6:30. Babysitter canceled. I'm trying to find someone else. Sent at 7:15. I can't find anyone. I have to bring my daughter. I'll understand if you want to reschedule. Sent at 7:30. I'm outside with Lily. We're leaving. I'm so sorry to waste your evening." That last message had been sent 2 minutes ago. Jack looked back at the little girl, Lily apparently. "Your mom is here?" "She's outside. She said it's not appropriate to bring a kid to a fancy grown-up date, and she was going to call you tomorrow to apologize." Lily tilted her head. "But I wanted to meet you. Aunt Rachel said you're nice." "Are you nice?" Despite everything, Jack found himself smiling. "I try to be. Did your mom send you in here alone?" "She doesn't know I came in," Lily admitted. "She's on the phone with Aunt Rachel, and I saw you through the window, and you looked sad. So I thought I should tell you we're here." Jack stood up. "Well, I appreciate that, Lily. Should we go find your mom before she worries?" Lily took his hand with the easy trust of young children, and Jack felt something unexpected in his chest, a warmth, a protectiveness. He let her lead him through the restaurant toward the entrance. Outside, a woman was pacing on the sidewalk, phone pressed to her ear, her free hand pushing through dark honey-colored hair in obvious distress. She wore a simple navy dress and looked tired, worried, and beautiful in a way that made Jack's breath catch. "Rachel, I know, I'm sorry," she was saying. It was such a disaster. I'll call him tomorrow and apologize." "I'm sure he thinks I'm—" "Lily! Lily!" She spun around, her eyes wide with panic. "Where did you—" She stopped abruptly when she saw Lily holding Jack's hand. "Mommy, this is Jack!" Lily announced proudly. "I told him you were sorry." The woman, Jack's date, looked mortified. "Oh my God, Lily, you can't just walk into restaurants alone." "What if—" She covered her face with her hands. "I'm so sorry." "I'm Emma Parker. This is the worst first impression in the history of first impressions." "Actually," Jack said, "your daughter is quite charming. She told me what happened, which was good because I'd put my phone on silent. I got your messages just now." Emma lowered her hands, looking at him with a mixture of hope and resignation. "I completely understand if you want to call it a night. This is not what you signed up for." Jack looked down at Lily, who was gazing up at him with those serious blue eyes, and then back at Emma, who looked like she was bracing for rejection. He thought about his empty house, about the quiet dinner he'd eat alone if he left now, and he thought about how Lily had noticed he looked sad. through a restaurant window and had come to deliver her mother's message personally. "Have you and Lily eaten dinner?" he asked. Emma blinked. "What? Dinner? Have you eaten?" No, we haven't, but then why don't you both join me? If that's okay with you, Lily." Lily's face lit up. "Can we, Mommy, please? I promise I'll use my best manners." Emma looked uncertain. "Jack, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to," Jack said. "I want to. Come on. Let's have dinner." He saw the moment Emma's resistance crumbled, saw the relief and gratitude flood her expression. "Okay," she said softly. "Okay, thank you." They went inside, and the hostess, after a moment of confusion, brought over a booster seat for Lily. She settled in between Jack and Emma, looking delighted with herself. "I'm sorry," Emma said again once they were seated. "This is so far from what Rachel probably told you to expect." "Rachel told me you were kind and smart and had been through some stuff," Jack said. "She didn't mention you had a daughter, but that's okay." "I asked her not to," Emma admitted. "I know that being a single mom can be, well, it makes dating complicated. I didn't want you to have preconceptions." "I get that," Jack said. "For what it's worth, I don't have kids. Never been married. Married to my job, as they say." "What do you do?" "I run a tech company. Software development, mostly business solutions." He didn't mention that he was the CEO, that his company was worth millions. That could come later if there was a later. "That sounds interesting," Emma said, and she seemed genuinely curious. The server arrived, and they ordered. Lily asked for chicken fingers. "With the sauce on the side, please." "I like to dip." And Emma ordered a salmon dish while Jack went with steak. "So what do you do?" Jack asked Emma once the server had left. "I'm a pediatric nurse," Emma said. "I work at Children's Memorial. That's why I was late tonight. We had an emergency admission, a little boy who'd fallen off his bike. I couldn't leave until I knew he was stable." "That must be rewarding work," Jack said. "And demanding." "It is," Emma agreed. "But I love it. Kids are resilient. They bounce back in ways that amaze me every day." "Like this one?" Jack gestured to Lily, who was carefully arranging her napkin in her lap. Emma smiled, and Jack saw how much love was in that expression. "Lily is the most resilient person I know. She's been through a lot in her short life." "Because of her dad?" Jack asked carefully. Emma's expression tightened. "Her dad left when I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready to be a father. I haven't heard from him since." "I'm sorry," Jack said. "That must have been incredibly difficult." "It was," Emma said. "But we're doing okay now. It's just us, and we make it work. Most days, anyway. Today was not our finest moment." "I think you're being too hard on yourself," Jack said. "You had an emergency at work. Your childcare fell through, and you still managed to show up and apologize. That shows character." "She could have just texted," Emma pointed out. "True, but I'm glad she didn't." Their eyes met across the table, and Jack felt something shift. Some connection forming that went beyond the awkward circumstances of their meeting. Lily, who'd been quietly listening, spoke up. "Mommy, can I tell Jack about my drawing?" "Of course, sweetie." Lily launched into an enthusiastic description of a picture she'd drawn at preschool, complete with elaborate details about every color she'd used. Jack listened attentively, asking questions, genuinely interested in her excitement. Emma watched him with surprise. Most men she'd attempted to date had barely tolerated Lily's presence, treating her like an obstacle to be overcome. But Jack was engaging with her daughter like she mattered. Like her 4-year-old observations about crayon colors were genuinely important. Dinner arrived, and it turned out to be one of the most enjoyable meals Jack had had in years. Lily told jokes that made no sense but were hilarious in their earnestness. Emma slowly relaxed, her earlier stress melting away as the evening progressed. They talked about everything: Emma's work at the hospital, Jack's challenges with his company, their shared love of old movies, their vastly different approaches to cooking. "I can barely boil water," Jack admitted. "I eat out most nights or order in." "I love cooking," Emma said. "It's one of the few things that helps me de-stress. There's something therapeutic about chopping vegetables and following a recipe." "Mommy makes the best mac and cheese in the whole world," Lily declared. "And her cookies are better than the store ones." "That's high praise," Jack said seriously. As dinner wound down, Lily's energy began to flag. She leaned against her mother, her eyes drooping. "Someone's ready for bed," Emma said gently, stroking her daughter's hair. "I'm not tired," Lily protested, even as she yawned. Jack signaled for the check, but Emma tried to object. "At least let me pay for Lily and me." "Absolutely not," Jack said. "This was my invitation, remember? Terrible first date or not, I'm paying." "It wasn't terrible," Emma said quietly. "It was actually really nice. Unconventional, but nice." "I agree," Jack said. He paid the bill and they walked outside together. The evening air was cool and pleasant. "Can I give you both a ride home?" Jack offered. "I have my car." Emma hesitated, then nodded. "That would be really helpful, actually. We took public transportation and Lily's pretty tired." Jack's car was parked nearby, a nice sedan. Not ostentatiously expensive, but comfortable. Emma settled Lily into the back seat, and the little girl was asleep before they'd driven 2 blocks. "She's out," Emma said softly, glancing back at her daughter. "Thank you for tonight, Jack, for being so understanding, and for being so kind to Lily. That means more to me than you know." "She's a great kid," Jack said. "You're doing an amazing job with her." "I'm trying," Emma said. "It's hard sometimes doing it alone, but she makes it worth it." They drove through the city streets, the lights blurring past, and talked quietly about their lives. Emma shared more about Lily, how she was smart and funny, and sometimes struggled with the fact that she didn't have a dad like the other kids at preschool. Jack talked about his own childhood, about losing his mother young and being raised by his father, who'd poured all his grief into building a company. "Is that why you work so much?" Emma asked, following in his footsteps. "Probably," Jack admitted. "He died 3 years ago. Left me the company. I've been trying to honor his legacy, but sometimes I wonder if I'm doing it at the expense of actually living my life." "That's a hard balance to find," Emma said. They arrived at Emma's apartment building, a modest complex in a decent neighborhood. Jack helped Emma carry the sleeping Lily upstairs, and Emma unlocked her apartment door. The apartment was small but cozy, decorated with obvious care on a limited budget. Children's drawings covered one wall, and toys were neatly organized in colorful bins. "You can just put her on the couch," Emma whispered. "I'll move her to her bed in a minute." Jack laid Lily down gently, and the little girl murmured something in her sleep but didn't wake. He and Emma stood there for a moment looking at her. "She really is wonderful," Jack said softly. "She is," Emma agreed. She walked him to the door. "Jack, I had a really good time tonight, despite everything, or maybe because of everything." "I did too," Jack said. "Would you want to do this again? Maybe next time with advance warning and confirmed childcare?" Emma smiled. "I'd like that. But I need to be honest with you. Dating a single mom is complicated. There will be last-minute cancellations when Lily gets sick. There will be times when she has to come along. There will be bedtime schedules and limited babysitter availability. If that's too much—" "Emma," Jack interrupted gently, "I know what I'm signing up for, and I want to sign up for it, all of it." Emma looked at him searchingly, then nodded. "Okay, let's try again." They exchanged numbers, real ones this time, not just passed through Rachel. Jack left feeling lighter than he had in years, like something had clicked into place that he hadn't even known was missing. Over the next few months, Jack and Emma dated in the way that single parents date, with flexibility, patience, and often with a small blonde chaperone. They had dinner at Emma's apartment while Lily showed Jack her entire toy collection. They went to the zoo, where Lily insisted on seeing every single animal twice. They had movie nights on Emma's worn couch, with Lily falling asleep between them. And slowly Jack fell in love. Not just with Emma, though he absolutely fell for her kindness, her strength, her ability to find joy in small things, but he also fell in love with Lily, with her endless questions and her fierce hugs and the way she'd started, calling him Mr. Jack. And then just Jack, and then, tentatively, my friend Jack. He fell in love with what they were together, a family unit that had room for him, that welcomed him not despite his inexperience with children, but because of his willingness to learn. 6 months after their disastrous first date, Jack invited Emma and Lily to his house for the first time. He'd been nervous about it, worried that the size and obvious expense of his home would change how Emma saw him. But he needn't have worried. "Wow," Emma said, looking around. This is... Jack, this is beautiful. It's too big for one person, Jack admitted. I've always thought so. It was my father's house, and I kept it after he died. But it's never really felt like home. It could, Emma said quietly, and something in her tone made Jack's heart race. Lily ran through the house with delight, declaring the backyard the biggest playground ever and the kitchen, where Mommy could make cookies for 100 people. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep in the guest room, surrounded by blankets, Jack had hastily pulled out. Jack and Emma sat on his back patio under the stars. I need to tell you something, Jack said. Okay, Emma said, a hint of nervousness in her voice. I love you, Jack said simply. Both of you. I know it's only been 6 months, and I know this is complicated, but I love you. I love your strength and your kindness and the way you've built a life for yourself and Lily against all odds. I love how you make everything feel manageable, even when it shouldn't be. I love your terrible jokes and your amazing cooking and the way you sing, off-key in the car. Emma was crying, smiling through her tears. Jack? And I love Lily, Jack continued. I love her curiosity and her big heart and the way she notices when people are sad. I love being part of your lives. I know I'm not her biological father, but if you'll let me, I'd like to be her dad in all the ways that matter. Are you proposing? Emma asked, her voice shaking. Not yet, Jack said. I wanted to tell you this first, before any grand gestures. I wanted you to know that I'm all in. Both of you. Whenever you're ready. Emma kissed him then, and they stayed on that patio for hours, talking about the future, about possibilities, about dreams they'd both given up on that suddenly seemed reachable again. Jack proposed 3 months later. Not at a fancy restaurant, but in Emma's tiny apartment with Lily present. He got down on one knee and asked Emma to marry him, and then he turned to Lily. And Lily, I wanted to ask you something too. Would it be okay if I became your dad? Not to replace anyone, but to be there for you, to love you and take care of you and your mom. Lily threw her arms around his neck. Yes, can I call you Daddy? I'd love that, Jack said, his voice thick with emotion. They married in a small ceremony 6 months later. Rachel was the maid of honor, still boasting that she'd known they'd be perfect for each other. Lily was the flower girl, taking her job very seriously. In his vows, Jack said, I went to that restaurant expecting a blind date. Instead, I got a little girl walking in to apologize for her mother. And I got a woman who showed me what real strength looks like. Emma, you and Lily have given me a family I never knew I needed. You've taught me that love isn't about perfect circumstances. It's about showing up, even when things go wrong, especially when things go wrong. In her vows, Emma said, you could have left when Lily showed up. Most men would have, but you stayed. You didn't just tolerate my daughter. You loved her. You saw us as a package deal, and you chose both of us. You gave me permission to believe in second chances, in unexpected beginnings, in the possibility that sometimes the worst first dates lead to the best love stories. Years later, when people asked how they met, Jack would smile and tell them about the blind date that started 45 minutes late and included an unexpected 4-year-old chaperone. The date was supposed to be empty, he'd say. But then a little girl walked in and said her mommy was sorry she was late. And that changed everything. Lily, who would grow up calling Jack Dad without hesitation, would add, I knew he was nice when I saw him through the window. He looked lonely. And I thought Mommy was lonely too, so I figured they should meet. You figured correctly, Emma would say, pulling them both into a hug. Because sometimes